Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Sunless Skies. So I had this event pop up while we were on our way back to London, and I thought at first that it was just a normal terror event, but now I realize it's something else, so I thought, best I get this on camera. You dream of a city of statues, a court of stone. Old frost gleams on corners, a shrieking wind blows. There are spiders. You see the dead shuffle through the streets and into the court in an unbroken, unending line. Their faces are masked. You awake with a start. You hear your crew weeping in their sleep. Investigating, you find them shivering from cold and thrashing with fever. "The dead are brought before me," one cries. They are dreaming the same dream you were. So I had the option of either rousing them with brandy, spending a crate of supplies, or simply returning to our dreams. You can see here, I've run us pretty low on stuff, just flying around, trying to get into trouble. So I thought it was best not to spend a crate of supplies. And the stone statued courtroom where the silent dead file before you. You were looking down at them, as if you were very tall. Their faces, behind their porcelain masks, were turned to the floor. You fell back into something else's dreams. One by one, you passed judgment upon them. This one is to be one of the ephemeral dead destined for death's door. This one, a king once, committed the sin of having sought immortality. You utter a word in the tongue of heaven, and proclaim it one of the failed dead, to be cast into the well. When you wake, you feel a crushing pressure on your legs, pressing them down into the bed. It is Belith, the feline eccentric's narrow black cat, but when you try to push him off, it is like shoving at a monolith. He is cold, and heavy as a slab of stone. Your femurs creak under the weight. Then he wakes, stretches, and slinks away. So yeah, that's pretty wild. That's a weird thing. I'm a little worried about this. I didn't realize that this was a thing that could happen. Having committed the sin of seeking immortality can cause you to become one of the failed dead to be cast into the well? Okay, well, I guess all the more motivation not to fail on our quest. Let's just move on here. Can we have a chat with our eccentric? For real, what's up with these cats? What is your deal? Oh, she wanted me to... What did she want me to do? I don't even remember now. Let's just find her face. Here, Nessie. Yeah. I think we are, in fact, going to... We are, in fact, going to go ahead and go back to Pan. Because I do want to get access to the stuff that's in the shop there. What was the story with our signalman? Because it looked like it was the same quest text. Is it just I haven't spoken to him since doing it? Yes, I think that is in fact the deal. Trade savage secrets over a slice of Battenberg cake. The signalman has sunk back into his reticence. This time you'll need even bleaker tales to coax him out. Something properly grisly. He laps up your stories like a cat would cream. In return, he shares a story of his own. Came to the skies as a lad in the first days. Her Majesty needed a whole country built, and granted us 30 years to do it. I took the offer, helped lay the foundations of London, built some of the dome over the throne of ours. Then I joined up with the squire to lay the Isambard line and headed to the Reach. Last time I saw Albion, it was just construction. I'd like to take a look around, see what our graft bought. Okay, accumulate 5 Albion port reports and speak to him again. Where am I at on that right now? Port reports, we have... Is it just... Okay, I have Pertinence and Worldbury. Alright, so let's remember not to turn those in. And then we can just fly around a bit. For right now, we have a very important thing to do. I think August 2nd should be late enough. I guess it depends on whether she actually meant 2 weeks or whether she meant 15 days again. Whatever, it's not exactly brutal to have to wait an extra day, just sort of like hover outside of the dock for a couple of minutes. But it would be neat if that would just flip over to the 3rd. No, I'm not going to get so lucky. Alright, let's see if this is good enough. It is indeed, perhaps. Alright, let's first of all... Oh, we actually failed at searching the undercarriage. After trudging across a desolate wasteland of London's discards and trawling heaps of rotting refuse, you find nothing except a more enlightened understanding of the city's ecosystem. You head back to the engine with empty hands and a mild infection. That's interesting, because that text is clearly written from the perspective of us being seeing reality, but then we have this drawbridge stuff here. Okay, let us visit the Unseen Queen. Something isn't right. Let's try to shake all this off. Okay, back to reality. Let's collect our reforged minute to midnight. They have been gathered, melted down, and reforged as one. Even in the real world, away from moonlight, the minute to midnight is now a sword, and an indisputably magnificent sword, with a blade that shimmers like oil and a vivid scarlet hilt. Wondrous, isn't it? But still, incomplete. The Unseen Queen sounds apologetic. There is one other fragment still remaining, the largest fragment. When it was broken up and scattered to the winds, one aspect of the minute found a particularly apropos home. It took the place of the minute hand on the Tower of Chimes. I need you to steal it. Okay, I can do that. That sounds like something that is directly up Sister Patel's alley. Gather one cryptic benefactor and 500 sovereigns and head to London to arrange matters for your upcoming heist. Okay, well, we are definitely ready to do that. We have those resources. Okay, so let's bounce out of the throne room. This is a thing that would probably best be done from somewhere that isn't a massive junk heap. Arrange matters for your upcoming heist. The Tower of Chimes is a drifting ruin, but still an important part of London history. You can't be caught vandalizing it. Something tells me this is exactly the sort of thing we're good at, though. Leveraging your connections across the capital, as well as a few hefty bribes, you arrange matters so that official patrols will give the Tower of Chimes a much wider berth than usual. You have a window of opportunity. Now you just need to travel to the Tower of Chimes and take advantage of it. Okay, we know approximately where that is, right? I think it's like north-northwest. It's just outside of the Avid Horizon, or not the Avid Horizon, but the Parliament. Okay, was there anything else we needed to do in London? I don't think so. So, first of all, obviously, let's do a little bit of this. It would be cool if I was not to run out of bars. And then accumulating garbage. I should sell that egg. Also, apparently there's a box of supplies in my bank. I must have overclicked. Who wants this egg? This guy wants this egg. You know, it's been a while since I've seen a curator actually defending the eggs. I wonder if they just gave up after getting horribly slaughtered so many times while trying to do it. Okay, we are not cashing in our port reports. We have places to be. So, we have to get to 5 reports, I believe. So we can hit Brabazon and the Floating Parliament. And then I guess I kind of wish that I had spoken to him beforehand, because the really efficient way to do this would have been to grab the mausoleum and then come up and do these. The Royal Society is so far away. Oh well. Is what it is, I suppose. I won't make you guys sit around and watch me fly around Albion, because it is a, at this point, pretty trivial task. But let's go ahead and fly out to the Tower of Chimes. I feel like we've been in Albion forever at this point. I know it's just been, in game terms, it's been like a month, and in real-time terms, it honestly hasn't, it's probably not even been an hour. But I'm sort of, this is maybe overstating it, I don't mean to be as negative as this sounds, but I'm sort of bored of this map now. Like, I feel like we got it. It's funny, the Reach is something that we have been, like, pretty thoroughly through. But I don't quite have that same feeling about the Reach. There's something about this place feels stuffy, I guess. I don't know, maybe that's the narrative just doing a really good job of creating atmosphere. It's just that it's creating an atmosphere that I find unpleasant, one that I don't want to hang around in. The text was like, oh, this is going to be a big heist, but I wouldn't imagine this is that hard, right? It's a good thing to have... Oh. Okay, this is the thing that I thought might be the Well of the Wolf. I don't know what it is, then. It's the storm that speaks. The crew stop their ears against the voices on the wind, as numberless as locusts. Okay, feels to me like we could just avoid that. There's an awful lot of storms doing an awful lot of speaking and singing and stuff lately. Ah, yeah, but as I was saying, the text is talking like this is going to be a big heist. I feel like we could just fly up there. I mean, like, the sky's a pretty empty space. Or, a pretty empty place, usually. I feel like we could just fly up there, pry it off with a crowbar or something, and be gone before anybody even really notices. Presumably, I am going to be disabused of that notion very shortly. I've not been back to Brabazon in quite a while. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Got pretty discouraged when we did all that. We put forth all of that effort to foment revolution, and then it didn't really accomplish anything. Okay, well, I'm going to be... you know what? I was going to say I'm going to be worse at this than the Archivist was, but actually, our mirrors is pretty high. Okay, we did it. Your only reward is a smile from the prisoner and a scowl from the Overseer, but it is enough. Hey, we're doing good work out here. Alright, so we have to go actually into the tour. We have a ton of Savage Secrets. I can afford to do this. Maybe not a ton. I mean, I'm not particularly interested in getting involved in anything here, really. Let's just run up to the part where we can leave the tour. Okay. What are my other options right now? We can trade supplies for Tales of Terror. I do not need to do that. Exploring the true Brabazon is just going to add terror to us. Okay, yeah, we don't need to play around here. Is there anything cool at the bazaar? Yeah, sure. You can never have enough explosives. And look at that, our villainous contacts finally getting us something a little bit more useful than tea. I know, blasphemy. Listen, I'm not British. I don't have to like tea. For real, though, tea... I definitely do not get the tea thing. I've never had a tea that I thought was any better than, hey, that's pretty gross. And some of you people, I can already hear it, some of you people out there from parts of the world where a lot of tea is drank? The places where you drink a lot of tea are going to be like, okay, but you haven't even had any good tea. You just had, like, garbage, cheapo American tea. And yes, you're right. But also, I'm, like, absolutely not going to put any effort into acquiring better tea. Let's all just live in reality for a second here. I'm not going to put forth any effort to do anything. Okay, it will be easier to pull off this heist if I'm not being tracked by a dreadnought the whole way. Okay, he seems to be turning away. It does feel like we're maybe making a little bit of a name for ourselves in Albion, right? Like, at this point, we have actually... Whoa, Jesus. That scared the hell out of me. At this point, we have actually met the Queen. Hey, what happened to the patrols getting warned off here? Okay, that was a pretty good amount of damage up front. We should have this guy down in just a second. And then maybe we can kill both that Kentankery and the Dreadnought while they're distracted with each other. By way of making it a little safer for me to rob an important national landmark. Or Skymark, I guess, at this point. Yeah, unusual items. What do you got? Okay. Some hours. Good enough. And it looks like that dreadnought has just run off. His own self, a crewman sniffs, the very biggest of bends. Boy, that's a pretty big minute to midnight there. The Tower of Chimes drifts in the darkness, racked by winds, sparkling with frost. You still your engines as you approach. This close, you can see that many of the more delicate details of the architecture have crumbled away entirely. Hopefully your efforts today don't do much further damage. You know what? I honestly don't care. The minute hand is sharp, dark, and enormous, 3 times the size of a man. The only way to safely remove it is to attach a chain between it and your locomotive. A delicate task. Yeah, that I figured is how we were gonna go through with this. Well, I could attach the chain myself if I was crazy. Hey guys who work for me, this is what I'm paying you for. Holding the heavy chain between them, the pair of engineers leap out into the bitter dark. As their boots touch down on the clock face, glass creaks ominously. Working fast, they hook the chain securely to the minute hand. Unfortunately, in their haste, one treads a little too heavily. His boot goes crashing through the glass, showering splinters into the tower below. From somewhere far below, a stomach-churning screech echoes. Panicking, they begin climbing back to the safety of the engine. One loses her grip in a sudden blast of wind. She goes careening off into the high wilderness, reduced in moments to a distant speck. You know, I don't know why I didn't even think that it might be the case that there could be something living in this big, effectively sky shell. Like that should have been more obvious to me. Okay, well, another crew member lost. I think at this point it's been quite a lot, right? The winds howl, the chain sways and creaks. It seems secure, so fire up the engines. Your engines roar, the chain snaps taut, the minute hand buckles and bends. Just as something seems ready to snap, chain or hand, you cannot tell, the clock face shatters. Glass scatters like confetti. Something hunched and tattered crawls from the broken hole, its limbs unpleasantly long, its movements erratic. Shaking powdered glass from its leathery wings, it hooks one claw around your chain. It raises its head. Its screech is the sound of death in the dark. With swift, purposeful movements, it begins to clamber up the chain toward your engine. Yeah, like in hindsight, it seems so obvious. Of course something would be living in there. Why wouldn't it? This is very bad. Try to survive. Okay, I'll see what I can do. Something terrible approaches. It is going to kill you. You would rather face this with the help of the unseen. A knight, surely, is better equipped to battle a monster, even one such as this. No, Sister Patel is very wary of all of this falling over to the illusion stuff. I have a train. Presumably we have some guns. We're going to kill this thing the old-fashioned way. Or I guess the less old-fashioned way? The hunched shape continues to climb the chain, wings sweeping behind it. It meets your gaze with a furious glare. There is nothing behind those eyes except an intense and sincere desire to murder you and everyone you know. Okay, not great, not great. It is nearer, nearer, nearer. No, it is here. Okay, kill the creature. If you fail here, you will die. 55% chance of success. You will need as many of your crew as you can persuade to emerge from under their beds. And guns. Plenty of guns. Now what is this? Blast it with your most powerful weapons. You unlock this by having no Cotterell and Hathersage Golgonuzas. Okay, so we had a Golgonuza. We would probably have a better version of this event. If you maneuver the engine just a little, you'll have a perfect shot right between its hateful, hateful eyes. Or, cut the chain. Don't be fooled. You have no choice. No, we need the minute. Yeah, shoot it with the train guns. We have very powerful train guns. Your weapons roar and thunder. The locomotive, still anchored to the Tower of Chimes, shudders unpromisingly as it absorbs their recoil. As the smoke clears, the hunched abomination blinks a few times, and then resumes its climb. It appears unharmed. Okay, great. We lost 5 hull and gained 10 terror, and now we just have to make the same choice again. Okay. So in this moment, Sister Patel is very conflicted. The clock face, or the hand of the clock, represents some very important loot, and I imagine in this way she's a little bit like a raccoon, you know? She's got the shiny thing. She's certainly not going to let it go, not even if holding on onto it kills her. but also she's very much a survivor, and she extremely does not want to die. So I think, in this moment of paired desperations, we are going to call upon Moonlight and see if it can help at all. The Moonlight answers. We're seeing what really ought to be. Hopefully that means no more monster. The beast approaches. You and your sworn knights accidentally disturbed it from its slumber beneath the lake. As it awoke, it scented its favorite food, the blood of knights. Now it advances in a terrible fury, a shuffling aggregation of animal shapes. Lion jaws, leopard claws, a serpentine tail, the wings of a bat. Okay, apparently I'm feeling a little bit braver and more capable here in the Moonlight. I unsheath my sword. I've killed monsters before. The beast screeches, the trees shudder. You rise to meet it, sword at the ready. Your knights try to drag you back, but you shrug them away. The beast is a bloated, ancient thing, fatted upon the blood of thousands. Huge, powerful, arrogant, it thrashes in fury as you dance around it. It screeches more in bewilderment than pain when you drive your sword deep into its bilious heart. When you recover your senses, you are not beside a lake, but dangling by one hand from the sky chain. Your sword is in your other hand. The monster's dripping corpse is entangled in the chain below. Okay. Well, good then, but it's definitely worrying. That's a worrying result, because now we know that giving ourselves over to the Moonlight totally works. That's gonna make it harder not to do it next time. Onwards. Okay, well, we got our thing, we got what we're here for. So I think I am going to do what I said. I'm going to hit the Floating Parliament and probably the Royal Society to get the last couple of port reports we need for the signalman. So, back in a bit. And we're back at London. I got our 5th port report, but I didn't actually do the event yet, and then I parked us here because obviously we need to bring back that final piece of the Minute to Midnight. I have some serious questions about how it ended up being made into the hand of a very important and extremely famous clock. Was one of Big Ben's hands always part of this weird magic thing? Also, hold on. Is the whole Minutes to Midnight thing even legitimate? Because the one I had was a pen. Yeah, but we made him into a sword. There's definitely something actually magic going on here. I don't know. It's all very strange. But dealing with our signaler is considerably less strange. So let's focus on that for a moment. Give ourselves a moment to relax. We have traveled across the region together. Has he seen enough? The signalman pauses in transcribing his latest set of notes. They cover the signals of Albion, from the bat-delivered memos of Parliament to the archaic systems of the Home Office. His manuscript grows ever heftier. It's kind of reminded me of the Archivist a little bit. It's not the world we thought we was building. Looks a lot like the old one for a start, but with brighter gleams and darker glooms. He frowns. We're all afraid to let go of what was. Speaking of, when we next stop at London, I'd like to take shore leave. It's time I spoke to the Squire. Oh, who is that? A purveyor of follies, he responds obliquely. It sounds like he might be a purveyor of the kind of follies that we're interested in, though. He wants to visit a quixotic squire near the Ministry of Public Decency in London. So, I've never actually heard anybody say this word. The character's name is Don Quixote, right? Is it Quixotic? I'm actually just gonna look it up. I'm just gonna look it up is what I'm gonna do. Well, the dictionary says quixotic. I sure would. Yeah, okay. That was certainly my first instinct. Alright. We're here. Congratulations, we did it. Oh, also I should probably listen to the will of the people, as long as we're here. A delegation has been sent to petition you in your role as minister. You listen with appropriate amounts of care to each person who begs a moment of your time. The majority are local issues, not worth bringing up in Parliament. Occasionally, inspiration strikes for a new law. You promise with a politician's sincerity that even if there is nothing you can do, you will do it to the best of your ability. Okay, next time I'm back in Parliament, we can do a thing. So maybe this is not the right part of London? Well, we can only go to Under London if we have this ambition, so that can't be right. Alright, what was your request again? He'd like to take shore leave. Okay, maybe the thing to do is this. I mean, this is a secondment, right? So the secondments were just added recently, and the signalman has been in for longer than that. So I assume this isn't what he actually means. Also, I think I need him. Yeah, right now we don't have enough mirrors to keep using our Ratronaut without him, since our crew have changed a little bit. I still have not come to a decision on that skin thing, by the way. So here's the deal with that. I would love to have an officer that raises our mirrors by 10, and actually, we're really bad with the affiliation Boheme. Not really Sister Patel's kind of people, never were, and that was before I burned down their sacred coffee church, so we could really use the help. The poetical suitor wrapped in one of the princess's skins, presumably keeping the other one on the floor of her old cabin, would be really valuable to us. But I think Sister Patel would find this so abhorrent. It's very hard for me to imagine that she would be okay with this. I'm going to keep thinking about it, because from a mechanical perspective, we really need this. And if we did this, it would allow us to let the signalman go for a little while and do his thing. Yeah, that's right. We could afford to lose his 6 mirrors and gain the 10 mirrors from this. I don't have another crew choice I could make that would improve our mirrors enough. Oh, we could flip. Yeah, we could flip over to the feline eccentric as our chief engineer. We would lose 10 iron by doing that. Do we need the 10 iron? It would take us down to 68 from 78. Are we using anything that requires 75 iron? 50... Don't think we are. Yeah, mirrors is the only thing we have to keep above 75. Alright, let's do it that way. We'll swap over to the feline eccentric here. That'll let us swap back to the devil without breaking our Ratronaut. And now we can safely have our signaler take time off at London without having to make that skin decision just yet. Just making sure that I'm not missing an option anywhere. Yeah, it sure doesn't look like I am. Our locomotive's in fine shape. Yeah, maybe they just rolled it into his secondment when they put in the secondments. Guess that must be what it is. But I'm obviously double and triple checking. Yeah, okay. Shore leave it is. Allow the signalman to curry favor with London's elites. He has expressed interest in doing some work in London for you. I'm going to set up shop in London and offer my services to this generation of builders and industrialists. He sighs. I suppose they're a dreadful bunch, but someone has to stop them making the mistakes we did. He heads off into the smog and does not look back. So I assume that I have to... We probably have to leave him here for a while, right? Signalman is in a shabby little consulting office near the station, decades out of fashion. A motto on the cobwebbed windows reads, "Told you so." Despite its appearances, business is booming. London's elite, unused to being spoken to, frankly, consider him a delightful novelty. So, is he gathering for us favor with the ministry? I don't think so. We don't really care about that. Or cryptic benefactors? I also sort of don't care about that. Here, let's pick him up immediately and just see if this fires his thing. He sighs when he sees you. It is, possibly, a sigh of relief. Yes, it is time I was off again, he informs you. I need to be back among the hollows of the stars and the howl of the terrible winds. I'm never content these days unless I'm sat in front of a fragile window, looking out over some turbulent abyss. Seems he might be pleased to see you. How can you tell? Alright, was that good enough? No, it's not good enough. That's fair. Yeah, we just gotta leave him in London for a while. Alright, well, we'll direct him to pick up cryptic benefactors for us, because we really, really don't need favor with the ministry. Come back in 30 days. Man, I'll do what I can if the pig-headed idiots will listen. The signalman's expression is dour as ever. They never paid attention to me when I was just a worker. He adjusts his bowler and tugs his collar straight. But now I'm a consultant. He heads off from the station, whistling tunelessly. Okay, 30 days from August 21st. I am making a note of the date. See, I can learn, eventually. So, let us push forward with our ambition. We should really search the undercarriage. Whatever, we'll do it on the way back. The final minute to midnight, wrested from the face of Albion's greatest clock. It takes 3 of your crew to carry it before her. There's something I'm fundamentally not grasping about the nature of this thing. At last, Queen stares hungrily at the minute hand. It's not actually a sword, of course, but a shard of sharpened time. The Arbiter created it in order to finally bring an end to my father's golden day. Now we'll turn it against her. Her vault can only be accessed by her closest servitors, working in tandem. So first we'll need to steal the flames of 3 different logoi. Defeat 3 different logoi in the Blue Kingdom and recover a vestige of their flames. Got ourselves a searing enigma and more experience than we could possibly use. Do we know about her father's golden day? I'm tempted to go do some research. So, if we want to keep pushing our signalman thing forward, we need to come back in 30 days. I'm wondering... we could just go to Piranesi, or we could just go to Piranesi. It's a little inconvenient to come back to London after doing so, but I don't think I want to hang around Albion for 30 days. That's quite a while to just fly around aimlessly. Okay, yeah, let's go to Piranesi, pick up the bits of equipment that we wanted to pick up, pursue a quest line or 2, and we'll be back in September. So I think we can just leave now, right? Oh, the Queen joins your crew. Hold on. The Queen's courtiers carry the sword and the minute hand away. You are told that the final reforging will only take a few hours. They won't be happy when I tell them I'm leaving, remarks the Queen. They'll just be animals again. Did you miss something? She pauses delicately. I'd like to come with you this time. Hang me somewhere nice. Don't just stick me in the cargo. Once the minute to midnight has been reforged, you order your crew to carry her aboard and hang her in the corridor outside your quarters. Huh. Your crew seem unaccountably reluctant to introduce themselves to the unseen queen once she's been salvaged from the dump. They're even less enthused when you tell them she's a first officer. The Swabby is so shocked he almost drops her. But, Captain, he protests, turning to stare at you. You tell him to focus on the job at hand. She's hanging a little crooked. Okay, you do not need to assign her to the role to speak to her. I am now officially in front of everybody. We have a painting as an officer of our crew, and she's terrible. I mean, SB, try not to sound so surprised that the painting would be bad as a first officer. Your crew don't like it when you while away hours in conversation with her. Yeah, so it's entirely possible that we never took anybody with us or even told anybody what we were doing, right? We just disappear into the underbelly of London, and we don't, So nobody knew that I was going to meet with a portrait in a garbage dump, probably. But the secret's out now. Well, let's have a little chat with her, whether the crew likes it or not. I have some questions about the Golden Day, for sure. The faded portrait of the unseen queen now hangs in the corridor just outside your quarters. The crew still don't understand your ambitions, and resent the portrait for both suspicious and superstitious reasons. What do you have to tell me? Asks the queen sharply as you approach. You suspect she misses her moonlit court. Why didn't I just hang it in my cabin? What was the value of putting it in the corridor outside? The Queen mentioned that the original purpose of the Minute to Midnight was to destroy the Golden Day. What did she mean? The day that lasted 1,000 years. Her voice is bitter. How I hated it. What use am I during an endless day? Where is my light to shine? Even before I was unmade, I was unseen. Blame my father's arrogance. He couldn't bear to conceal his light, even for a moment. The people loved it, of course, because they did not age. When he died, of course, time caught up with them, and they became less than dust. Do you think... Is it possible her father is the son that got killed in Pan? I mean, I guess she could be the daughter of the son that got killed here, too. But we determined that the Queen didn't actually kill the son, or that London didn't actually kill the son, because the unclear bomb they're said to have done it with is still around and active. When we talked to her about it, she said that the facts turned out to be different on the ground, and the bomb was not necessary. Which means that the son was killable in another way, or was already dead when London went to kill it. I really need to figure out a little bit more about the liberation of night, I think. And again, it's very likely that we've been told all the things that I need to know, and I just have not retained them, because it's been like 2 months since we started playing the game. Okay, tell me about the King of Hours. Sons, it seems, can be murdered. Sons can suffer, and this is something that we have a little bit of interest in, because there's a son around here that I wouldn't mind murdering. The Martyr King. The King of Hours was betrayed and murdered by the Blue Kingdom, but he discovered a way to persist. Her voice is brittle. I always wondered why I was born. Apparently, I was a contingency. As he died, he stole the moment of my birth and used it to preserve the moment of his death. Now he is forever dying, forever in torment, but never dead. A shadow. And what does that make me? He erased me. He stole my existence to preserve his own. I am not even the shadow of a shadow, but I will claw my way back. We've gotten ourselves involved in something a little bit beyond our pay grade here, and I'm not sure that we're not going to make the universe a terrible place, or perhaps in some way unmake it. Imagine, for a moment, what Sister Patel's life must have been like before she went to the trouble of tracking down the erstwhile archivist. Things have changed so very, very much for her. And to be perfectly honest, I think she's changed quite a bit with them. As you walk down the corridor, you're sure you can hear the distant sound of a herald's bugle. Let's just not think about it. When you return to the mess hall, you find your crew staring at you with something like concern in their eyes. Have they never seen someone converse with a portrait before? It can't be that uncommon in this place, right? Okay, well, we're definitely not making her our first officer. Fortunate Navigator's doing a fine job of that. So yeah, 30 days. Let's go to Pan, I guess. I mean, it's a long flight, and I might want to do a thing or two in the Reach. So I think I'm going to cut it here, and you'll rejoin us whenever it makes sense. Alright, so I had to swing by Titania for a thing to drop off a settler on our way through the Reach here. And you know what? Maybe we ought to do some work on the port. We're here, we have a ton of resources to play with. Let's, the port was under attack by chorister bees, of course, again. At this point, our stats are so high that we can trivially drive off a bee infestation all by ourselves. Let's fix up the port and then expand it a little bit. So we'll pay for all of the port repairs, a whole 20 sovereigns. More than sufficient. It's not a very large port, I guess. So, let us advise on Titania's next upgrade. Must be fully repaired and funded to start a new project. The rhapsodic mayor, stone-faced sculptor, and melancholy poet stand in a circle of Titania's ever-vocal bohemians, arguing themselves to a standstill. The mayor waves you over. Perfect timing, Captain. So, we can, I built I built a building here some time ago. I don't remember if I even caught that on camera or not. But basically, there's room for 2 projects, and I built one already. So we can advocate for a museum devoted to what? We'll decide later. The rhapsodic mayor waves her hand at this minor detail. Something to impress, to educate, something worthy. Or a scientific enclave. A good friend of mine from Gothic College has been looking for a place where they can conduct their, how do I put this, less conservative experiments, offers the melancholy poet. I thought Root's End would be perfect. Remote, not very flammable. I'm trying to think, what would Sister Patel think here? I don't know that she necessarily has a lot of use for museums, although her trip through the high wilderness has certainly made her more interested in certain elements of history. I kind of think I want a scientific enclave here. With your support, the suggestion passes. Construction begins. So the bigger the port gets, the more opportunities it will offer. Let's throw some sovereigns their way. What would the next stage of Titania? It would be 1,000 sovereigns to fund it. I got 1,000 sovereigns on me. The rhapsodic mayor shakes your hand. Such generosity! We'll get to work at once. Okay, let's advise on the next upgrade. Okay, so it seems like despite the fact that we funded another upgrade, we're not... nothing happens here. All 3 are agreed that Titania represents a phenomenal new opportunity for art. Where they differ is on whose definition to use. This is a very old problem. At this rate, they'll be lucky to agree before the dawn of the new century. Okay, so apparently my 1,000 sovereigns did absolutely nothing there. Well, let's visit our Gothic College Scientific Enclave. It is under construction. Already there are arguments about what form it should take. Or maybe we can't expand anymore until this is actually built? In honor of the college, the founders have given them an entire dome for their work. In awareness of how often said work has a tendency to go boom, it is the one furthest away from Valentine Square. Now let us decide a direction for the enclave. The melancholy poet is surrounded by scientists, demanding to know what they should be building. No, we are not letting you build another Clockwork Sun. Ah, the melancholy poet looks almost pleased to see you. Finally, someone sensible. Help me decide on one of these plans, will you? Okay, an observatory, a workshop, or a great exhibition. I would like some new inventions and devices. That sounds pretty valuable. A workshop. This is good. It's pragmatic. Good, good. The melancholy poet seems to care little for the decision as long as it stays made. Do that, whatever. Hurry up, before anyone complains. Okay, so... Do we need then to wait? Oh, okay. The engineers in one of the workshops will be able to offer you something, so we can get 10 experimental modifications, which we could then turn in at, what do you call it? The Royal Enclave in Albion for, unfortunately, modules that we almost certainly don't actually need. Well, alright. I mean, every captain can request a boon. May as well take ours. The engineer looks shamefaced, as near as you can tell under the thick layer of soot. Look, I was almost sure it would work. Here, maybe they'll be able to do something with the pieces at the Society proper. Okay, well that's a cool thing. Unfortunately, not, like, terribly useful to us, because we don't really like any of the, modules that are available at the Royal Society. But if we had done all this a lot earlier, maybe that would have been useful. Alright, I think we're good here. Back in a moment. Okay, we made it back to Pan. It was pretty uneventful, although as you can see, it took a little while. We're way past the month. And I bought the plating module. We can't actually equip it right now, but I'm not going to stress too much about it. Let's worry about it after we go back to Albion, get our signalman, and then we can try to rebalance our stats so that we have our 75 iron while maintaining the 75 mirrors we need for the Ratronaut. If we have to drop the Ratronaut and go back to the Cavi, I guess that's not the end of the world, but I don't think we need to even worry about it now. We fought plenty of stuff out here in Eleutheria. Man, do I actually think this? Hold on. I am a little scared of the Undeparted. Okay, we are... How much are we short? We're short 4 iron. We gain 4 iron easily. I mean, we could swap... Okay, let's not worry about the princess's skin here. Okay, we could go back to the driver. We lose 6 mirrors by doing that. Yeah, okay, let's do that. While we're here at the bank, and we can do this thing. Let's pull the Ratronaut, throw the cabbie back in. Because you know what? I'm kind of thinking that actually I am a little bit scared of the kinds of things that we often encounter in Eleutheria. Not often, pretty much just the Undeparted. But like the Undeparted, right? That's a real problem. So we are now at no mouse over. We are now at an amount of hull that cannot even be read in a mouse over. We have a prospect for Piranesi, and of course we're bringing the ministry-approved literature that we are supposed to bring to the House of Rods and Chains. So I guess let's get going. It's a little annoying to have to... it's a little annoying that we don't get the new plating. Words. You know what I'm trying to say. It's a little annoying that the new plating adds to our maximum plating, but not to our current, or our maximum hull, but not to our current hull. But we will live. We'll just fix it when we get back to the Eagle's Empyrean. So this part of the journey, I do want to catch on camera because, you know, there are still definitely chances for things to go really horribly, hilariously wrong here in Eleutheria. This place is not safe to us yet. And that kind of stuff right there is exactly why. We're just going to give that as wide a berth as we can. I do have to say, like, I'm aware that the character of the series has changed a little bit over the last, you know, half dozen episodes. Without the long voyages, during which I have to just sort of ramble incessantly about absolutely nothing, things feel a little bit different. And to be perfectly honest, even playing the game feels a little bit different. Having to actually focus and be all the way present the whole way through the journey does flavor the feeling of playing a little bit. You know, it gives it a certain sort of mechanical tone. I'll be perfectly honest with you, while I was undergoing this trip, I was watching sitcoms on Netflix while I was flying around the Reach, and the game feels way different when you're doing that. I suppose, for my own good, or at least for the preservation of that feeling, I could just not watch old episodes of The New Girl, but I'm going to. We all know that. I don't know, it's an interesting problem because from a like design perspective. Because obviously, for the tone they want to get, you need to spend some time in the desolation, right? But the voyages have to be kind of long, and to be perfectly honest, I know this is like a bad word in gaming, but sometimes it's valuable. They kind of have to be boring, right? I really thought that was going to just like arc into him a little bit. And of course, the moment I overheat, he fires a big volley right at us. But the moment you make something... The moment you make a part of a video game not 100% maximally engaging and fun for the player, you people have Netflix, right? Or their phone. So how do you solve that problem from like a game designer standpoint? I have no idea. I probably should have waited to engage with him until I wasn't so close to overheating. Whatever, problem solved. Okay, hopefully we can just repair off of him a little bit. I suppose we could go for the money. We certainly don't need experience. The scraps of ancient knowledge are not nothing, but also we actually have quite a few searing enigmas. Yeah, I don't know. Bronzewood's fine. And it looked like I was aggroing something, but I don't know what. Could be an Undeparted, I guess, since I couldn't see what it was. Does it seem a little like weirdly jerky to anybody else? Well, we're unlikely to be able to dig out any gemstones here, so I guess let's just gain sovereigns. Is it gonna... There we go. Hey, 50 whole sovereigns. Dim your light, quiet your heart. The grievers are here. Listen, I would love it if there were some grievers here. Can we please get maybe some more grievers? I am, at this moment, all about that griever life. I'm also all about avoiding the halved. See, that's another sun we could kill. We gotta figure out how to kill suns. Oh, griever. Excellent. Okay, wait. Make sure we actually have the shot. Hit him and fire again immediately. Didn't actually make contact. Well, that was just a very clumsy charge. He really has nobody but himself to blame for that outcome. Man, I feel like the first bunch of grievers we fought all gave us the option... Ooh, hey, Amber. All gave us the option of gaining hull back, and it has been very uncommon since. We must have just gotten lucky a couple of times in a row. Okay, is that that's the soft amber? Not that we actually, like, have any good idea of how to use the amber. But anyway, what I was saying is, hey, remember when I was going to blow up the Clockwork Sun? I really have no idea how we would go about that, and I don't think I want to, at this point, spend enough time with this character in Albion to figure it out, because we sort of have a place that we're going, right? Like, we do have to go back to Albion one more time, because I'm trying to wrap up the Signalman quest, so that we can have as many crew members complete as possible for the next captain in our lineage. But still, I don't really want to spend any more time in Albion than I absolutely have to at this point. I want to advance, and I want to, after all of this time, finally see the Blue Kingdom. I really did not think it was going to be quite so many hours. I've been thinking about the next character a little bit already. Not going to commit to anything until we're actually there, and who knows how convoluted the quest for the Martyr King's Cup might end up being from here. But, I do have some ideas. And I'm excited to know what exactly is meant by the truth. Come to think of it, the image shown on the card for the truth ambition is a sun, isn't it? Maybe we'll learn more about... Well, I was going to say maybe we'll learn more about, like, the judgments and the stars, because the repentant devil seems to be very involved with all that nonsense. We're still going to learn some stuff about that with this character, too, when we drop him off. Alright, the rubbery men are commingling on the carapace. Let us witness their lament. The lament is low, its melodies impossible for any human tongue to capture. In their grief, however, at least the rubbery men have kinship, shared hope that one day the suffering will be over. Not as hopeful as it sounds. Alright, up into the spire, we have a new sigil for Mr. Barleycorn. We also remembered to bring some ministry-approved literature. Let's deal with that first. Mr. Barleycorn takes a book from the consignment and turns straight to the final page. After a few moments, it sighs. It snaps the book shut. Satisfactory. The servitor's sentence will be reduced, but it must still change beyond recognition before Piranesi will permit its release. Okay, well, we can, at the very least, relay that message and hopefully receive some kind of reward. And then, also, I brought you this. The seal of Mr. Penny's. Ah, that one. Mr. Barleycorn daubs the seal in ink and presses it to paper. If the boon of a long life is that one outlasts one's mistakes, its curse is that they nip at your heels for eternity. I wonder what Mr. Penny's hides from. Perhaps one day I will ask, before I too beg for protection under the mountain. You know, we never did figure out what the deal is with that mountain. There's that whole thing about there's like a whistling cave. We didn't dig too deep into it. But I am kind of curious what is going on over at Lustrum. Well, anyway. We did that. I wonder how many more of his people are out there in the world. An idle concern. Something to think about in the long, dark sky. For now... no, for now I think we're actually done here. I don't really want to bother with the amber nonsense. It just doesn't seem like... It doesn't seem like we're going to figure it out, because I'm not going to spend enough time here to figure it out. I'm being perfectly honest with you. That's all on me. Okay, so we need to deliver some caged catches to Piernesi, which will get us back in the money. That plating was not cheap. It was like 3,600 sovereigns. Wait, I didn't write a port report. We should probably do that. No sense leaving without one, right? So when we go back to Piernesi, we want to go with... I wrote a note down. I'll figure it out in a second here. Head into the house. Pile a port report. And sure, we'll offer passage to a rubbery man. I don't know that I'm necessarily going back to Pan. But anywhere's got to be better than here, right? We flew around with that, with the last rubbery man on board for a very long time. Okay, now let's go. Sorry, actually, one more time. Just kidding. It's going to be a long while before we can purchase fuel or supplies, so we probably ought to do that while we're here, since we can. The rubbery men care about the health and survival of travelers a little bit more than the people from Piernesi do. Gee, I wonder why. Now, let me try to pull up my notes while driving the train and hopefully not crash into anything. I see it, don't worry. We definitely want to go with the Deformer and trade another moment of inspiration to the guy who keeps trying to shoot him. And then we also want to go with the Conformer. She's the one that'll let us speak to the brittle... I can't remember the rest of his appellation. You know, the brittle guy who we just secured a partial pardon for. We have some business yet to conduct here. And hopefully we don't run into a bunch of Undeparted, but of course here we are in the Collywobbles once again, where I feel like we've spent an awful lot of time recently. So yeah, maybe we'll leave the idea of the destruction of the Clockwork Sun to the next character. Although I will say, one of the differences I was thinking about was having the next character somehow be justifiably pro-Crown, so hard to imagine that a person who is in favor of the Crown would want to destroy the Clockwork Sun. Well, I'm aggroing something invisible. I'm just gonna fire blind. I did not hit anything. We definitely hear Undeparted, though. Or at least I do. You guys don't, because I won't stop talking. Welcome to my life. Or more accurately, welcome to Elise's life. Boy, they got a real, like, spooky batwing noise that they make. I'm just going to keep flying, and hopefully it won't be a problem. Yeah, see, he's not even a good shot. It's a shame they don't give anything interesting when you kill him, or at least that the one we killed didn't. I suppose it's not impossible that they have cool rare drops. You know, we've already seen that some enemies yield weird weapon parts, or just whole weird weapons. Maybe we could get the spinning discs that he throws. That would be cool. Not so cool that I'm gonna, like, put any effort into it. But it's a fun thing to think about out here in this endless damned forest. I suppose one thing we could do when we go back to Albion is try to hunt down some more Scornflukes and see if we can't finish the commingling of the choirs thing. That might be something that is worth doing with this character, because we already have some built up. But if the next character is maybe going to have to spend time in Albion figuring out how to blow up the sun, maybe that's a thing to worry about with them. And we are definitely not going to figure out all the rules of Piernesi. And yeah, there's actually still a lot of stuff to do. There's the whole Langley Hall thing, too. I refused to give the place any part of ourselves, and so I was locked out of progress on finding Lord Langley, but that is actually something I would like to pursue. Alright, let's contemplate some sculptures here, drop some terror. And before we go anywhere, I have these caged catches for you. Chaplain assigned to the kitchen takes the fresh meat, makes a small incision, and peels off the fur. He hangs it ready to be smoked, dried, and served up to the prisoners as a special treat. What do you think the word treat means? I will take these. Okay. So let us accompany our feline eccentric to the gardens. She said that here you would learn about her malevolent cats and why she can't be rid of them. I do have an awful lot of questions on that score. I entered Piranesi as something else. Well, yeah, that is how it works. Something vast and inhuman. Something tired. In my nightmares, I remember a cold court, countless statues. I remember the dead, prostrate before me as I pronounce sentence, she shudders. I wasn't kind. Piranesi changes you, but it's merciless. I cut off those parts of myself that were false and laid them on the protean altars. I outwitted the facemonger and chose a countenance of my own. I hauled my better self through the labyrinth of names. I defied the judgment of the moon's locks, and they opened. I emerged, new, raw, happy, the person, more or less, that I'd chosen to be. But the cats came too. She scowls at one, which is clawing at a sapling. I have my suspicions about them. She stops. A stern, gray-haired woman is watching you both from beside one of the sculptures. We don't get many return visitors, the woman remarks. Tea? This is the Great Conformer, right? The Conformer is stern and brusque, but fascinated by the eccentric and her cats. She brews you strong, dark tea, and peppers your officer with questions. So, about getting rid of these cats, is it really impossible? Because I'm willing to do some wild stuff. I've seen some crazy shit out here, and I bet some of it could kill your cats. Oh yes, you can't cast them aside any more than you could cast aside your shadow. They are vestiges of that version of you that entered Piranesi long ago. Vestiges you chose not to keep. For some reason, they followed you out. Perhaps the old you was not cast deep enough into Piranesi. He was notably stubborn. You see, the eccentric says to you, I'm stuck with them. Of course, the Conformer says, slurping her tea loudly. They could choose to leave you. Wait, what? The eccentric's head whips around to face her. Why didn't you bloody say so? Hey, is that the first time we've actually seen the word bloody written all the way out? That's weird. Okay, so how would we do that then? Because I'm eager to have that done. I do not want these things on my train anymore. This is an unusual case, the Conformer says defensively, but these vestiges are, in essence, aspects of the being who entered Piranesi and emerged as you. They have opinions and preferences, as do we all. If you find somewhere they like, they may stay there, or if you do something they hate, they may leave. Carrot or stick? The eccentric frowns at the cats. How do we know what they like and hate? The Conformer shrugs. No one knows them better than you. The tea is finished. You return to your engine. I need to think, says the eccentric. Alright, before we do any Piranesi stuff, let's talk to the eccentric again. So we could consider secrets we've learned and how to... Okay, so each one of the cats has a different thing we have to do here. Well, fortunately, we have plenty of all of these currencies. Even the charts. Alright, one by one. Asmodee is a sassy ginger cat, his face scarred from countless fights. When you approach him, he hisses at you, his ears flat back. The eccentric shows you her angle, livid with a lattice of claw marks. Asmodee is a ball of anger. As if on cue, there is a hiss from under the galley table, and Asmodee attacks your knee. You fend him off. He climbs onto a shelf, his fur bristling. There's somewhere he might feel at home, the eccentric says reluctantly. But it's not anywhere I want to go. The White Well in the Blue Kingdom. Things that were cast into it rage against their fate. Alternately, you could drive him away by damping his fury. The attendants at Magdalen's, it is said, can soothe the wildest soul. Huh. Boy, one of these things is way easier to do than the other. That's kind of strange, right? It's like, you could do this. I guess if you can only recruit the feline eccentric in Eleutheria, maybe it's the case that the White Well thing is also very easy for us, and I just haven't realized how easy it would be because I am afraid of the Blue Kingdom. Alright, what about Paimon? Paimon, an aloof, flat-faced gray, gives you a baleful look. He has climbed into a cranny under the ceiling and won't let anyone near. I don't remember, which cat was it that somehow got outside the train? I remember Belith. Belith was the one that gave us that nightmare, which apparently was sort of a memory, actually. Just not my memory. Paimon is very governed, the eccentric observes. The gray cat watches you stiffly out of reach. He never plays, and he doesn't like it when well, watch this. She comes and sits next to you. Immediately, Paimon jumps up, pries you apart, and sits primly between you. That is an extremely cat thing to do. He is aloof and restrained. Perhaps he would enjoy Carillon, where penitents submit themselves to stern punishments and endure them without complaint. Or, to drive him away, I'd heard that at Aklis one can buy substances that make fools even of kings and bishops. Listen, there's nothing about being a king or a bishop that means you can't be a fool, and also, I don't know if we should go back to Aklis. I think some people there are not too fond of me. I know, Sister Patel making enemies in the sky, it's so hard to believe. Belith is a gaunt black cat, always pushing himself to the front at feeding time, always sitting where people need to be. Belith barges past you in the corridor. He has heard two stokers arguing. When he finds them, he watches, rapt, with the air of an ancient philosopher king. He is fascinated by their red faces, their bristling mustaches, their pointing fingers and clenched fists. The eccentric joins you. Belith admires force, she whispers. He would fit in at the floating parliament, where MPs push their beliefs into law using words as swords and procedures as nooses. Do they never use real swords? Because I feel like they could really liven things up out there. Yeah, the eccentric muses. I think he'd like that. And I know what he'd find intolerable. Dreams. Those dreams where the rules all change and your strength is useless. The roses of Caduceus could help. Okay, so for each one of the cats we've been given a way of making them want to be somewhere else and a way of making them no longer want to be here. I bet we get a different final result for her based on how many of them we make happy and how many of them we make miserable. And maybe the best thing to do would be to try to get them to all go to places where they want to go. Unfortunately, that means we can't actually complete it until we can get to the Blue Kingdom. I don't know. Something to think about. If I do this, is it just gonna refresh me on the information? The eccentric was not always as she is now. Once she was something else, something vast and celestial, something masculine, something unknowable and inhuman. But she was cast into the tangles of Piranesi, and when she emerged, she was the lean, diligent engineer before you. Her cats followed her from Piranesi. They are vestiges of her old self that refused to detach from her. Angry, isolationist, forceful. They are making her life and the efficient functioning of your engine difficult, and I care a lot about both of those things. One more than the other, but let's not tell her which. Alright, back into the prison. So we want the Gray Conformer, so that we can go in here and, first of all, obviously, write a port report. And then deliver the good news to the Brittle Servitor. You've successfully petitioned for its sentence to be reduced, but it has not been pardoned entirely. Sorry, buddy, you still have to do all the work. Is this servitor now free? Opalescent sparks dance wildly around its ankles. You tell the servitor that its sentence is commuted. It will no longer have to change utterly in order to escape. It can even remain a servitor, rather than descending into something lesser. But sacrifices must still be made before Piranesi will lose its grip. This cannot be. This being cannot change. The lesser being will find another way. Really, man? I am working my ass off for you. Alright, well, I guess... Even if she knew, she wouldn't tell us, right? But I guess we may as well ask. The change can occur by proxy, says the conformer, if the prisoner can find a free volunteer. A difficult task. To my recollection, it has only occurred a handful of times in our history. Imagine a besotted romantic willing to sacrifice their life to free their lover from Piranesi. But to lose their life is far, far easier than to sacrifice their identity, when their identity is tied inextricably with their love. To free their loved one, they must kill the love itself. Few can accept this. Well, I am not interested in making myself a scapegoat. As I said before, I think that the sky has changed Sister Patel quite a bit, but I think for the most part she likes who she's changed into. We could try to convince the servitor to change itself. We're not likely to get it, but we don't really have another play here, so I'm going to go ahead and roll the dice. 22% is not 0%. Okay, yeah, that was the likely outcome. This being cannot change. The servitor's hollow monotone somehow manages to convey impatience. Worlds change, boundaries change, winds and gods and laws change. It is in the nature of the servitor to weather these changes and remain the same. Well, alright, buddy. You have fun in here, then. So if I talk to him again... Okay, I could try this check again if we came back later. Well, we probably won't. We can eavesdrop on the conformers' questions, get ourselves a few more sky stories, and then I guess we're all done with you. And then we go and grab the glistening deformer. The more time I spend with this guy, the more I think the glistening is really the gross part. Okay, let us offer another moment of inspiration to the pragmatic vigilante. Something even nastier. You sit beside the vigilante and begin offering ideas. His spiked tail lashes back and forth in anticipation. You chat with the vigilante, flinging ideas of shape and change back and forth. Once again, he waits for a lull, then changes the topic to the liberation of night. Do they expect us to believe that stars can be extinguished by mortals? I hope so, he asks, shuddering with outrage. No, there are greater powers at work. I'd stake my soul on it. The humans flocking to Eleutheria are being deceived. After a moment's silence, he thanks you for your help. This time you leave before he works himself into the Warrens. He's changed himself further, and I mean, we're exchanging moments of inspiration for Searing Enigmas. We have 8 Searing Enigmas now. Kind of wild. Alright, I guess let's follow the deformer. So last time we did successfully persuade a prisoner to enter the tunnel, and it didn't... Oh, you know what? It built up some favor with the deformer. Let's go for it again. We probably won't hit it. Yeah. But I would like to get more... we lost deference to the deformer, in fact, so that is not a thing where we can just keep grinding our face against it. Having low hearts has been a challenge. Some things have not gone the way I would have liked them to go. Alright, Piranesi is closed to visitors for the rest of the day. So, where are we at with the cats? We need to go to Carillon and a place in the Blue Kingdom. I definitely scrolled down too far. Where is... Here we go. The White Well, if we're going to do all this stuff where we convince them to leave for a place they want to be, it's the White Well, Carillon, and the Floating Parliament. These two are easy enough to get to. It's at least worth considering having the other one leave for Magdalen's. We will have convinced 2 of the 3 of them to go peacefully. Maybe that'll be good enough. And it does let us try to get her plot done before actually even going to the Blue Kingdom, which I think may be what we want to do. Alright, let's, do we want to do anything else in this episode? I guess I can take over from here. I will say, so I started talking about this a little bit, but I do wonder if sort of the changes to the character of the series have been for the best. So if you have any strong feelings on that, let me know in the comments below if you would prefer to see some of the long interstitial voyages, or maybe even all of them. It's just something I've been thinking about a little bit. But I think we are all good here for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Come back next time, tomorrow. We'll go back to Albion and hopefully get some more crew stories finished. And we'll see you then.